Welcome, everyone. I call this business meeting to order. Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine,
Here.
Buffalo,
Here.
Clanton, Gabriel. Oh, that's right, she's not here. Jordan,
Here.
Stone,
Here.
and Martin.
Present. Okay, up first, we have our school board goals and monitoring reports. And Dr. Pohl, before you get started, I know Mr. Jordan has a few words to say.
Yeah, just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of reset what we're doing and why we're doing it. As a board over the summer and actually from work we've been doing the past year, we said we wanted to give some focus on our student outcomes and giving special attention to priorities that we've set based upon our goals. So we've also, as part of this, said we want to be in a position where, one doesn't have to wait until the end of the year to understand how we're progressing with our student outcomes, in particular around the goals that we focused. So we've worked since the summer to establish goals and some non-negotiables. There are some other pieces to that we need to continue to work on. This is our practice by doing. But I just wanted to share a couple of things, some notes on effective goal monitoring. Of course, normally we would not be in this setting because we can't see each other when we're up here on the dais. And that's why at the work session, we're usually in a round or a V or a U. But I just want to share a couple of things before we get started. Too often in public education, leaders do not pay attention to what's working and what's not working. The result can be a revolving door of initiatives, programs, silver bullets that drain resources, frustrate staff, and fail students. Breaking this cycle requires having clearly agreed upon data, a predictable cadence of reviewing the data to see what's working, not working, and the expectation that this information impacts what happens next. This is the purpose of monitoring. Goal monitoring is a conversation between the school board and the superintendent that provides boards the opportunity to evaluate the alignment between the community's vision for student outcomes, which are goals, and current student performance/growth, which is reality. While goals and reality may not match perfectly, it only becomes problematic when there is no evidence of student growth. And if students aren't yet growing and making progress, that's only catastrophic if the superintendent doesn't have sufficiently aggressive strategies in place for helping students to make progress. So how is this goal monitoring beneficial? It gives the board and the superintendent an opportunity to lead by example. It's often said what happens in the boardroom sets the tone for what happens in the classroom. Clarifying strategies, communicate expectations by investing at least 15% of the board's time each month into monitoring progress towards the vision. The board makes clear what the priorities of the entire organization are expected to be. This is a powerful tool for creating organizational alignment. And then it also supports our superintendent evaluation process. With each monitoring report, the board is conducting a micro assessment, and we get to hear from the superintendent how progress is being made and what strategies are being considered based upon the results that we're seeing. We talked before about an effective monitoring calendar. We will need to work on that. That calendar, as we've talked about before, should extend throughout the lifetime of the goals, not just a month, not just a year. It should include all the school board's goals and our non-negotiables. It often includes board trainings, community trainings, board self-evals, all the things that we talked about as we were doing more governance training last year. It should schedule each goal meaning the calendar, each goal to be monitored at least 4 times throughout the year, and each non-negotiable at least 1 time per year. It should also schedule 1 or 2 interim goals to be monitored each month, no less than that, and definitely no more than 3. We can schedule as many interim non-negotiables to be monitored during the month as the board desires. and we should never place those reports on the consent agenda. As we move forward with practicing, what we would be looking for in the report is certain things. The goal, does it clearly show what specific goal and integral goal is being monitored? Does it clearly show data for the 3 previous reporting months? Does it clearly show the current reporting period? Does it clearly show the target reporting periods, annual targets and deadline target? The interpretation, does it clearly show the superintendent's understanding of system performance relative to the goal? And evidence and plan, does it clearly show supporting documentation that evidences the superintendent's understanding of system performance? If the school system is not at target or the superintendent's understanding of system performance indicates implementation is not on track, does the monitoring report clearly describe root causes, strategic responses, and any needed next steps? And then moving forward, we want the board to be prepared. So we should come to each meeting having done our homework. We should have read the report. We should understand the reality. We should be willing to keep the conversation going if the superintendent presents a report that is missing the prerequisites or fails to clarify for board members the extent to which reality matches the goals. Then we can consider tabling the conversation and give the superintendent administration opportunity to re-offer at a subsequent meeting. There's no gotcha governance. We have a clear monitoring calendar that we'll be following, and it's not the board's job to offer advice to the superintendent or the administration in terms of how to implement her work or their work. It's our job to determine whether or not we are understanding the goal, the alignment, and the strategies. Effective superintendent participation involves bringing forward the data, don't hide the data. Student performance data being presented during the monitoring conversation should be easy for most parents to understand. Monitoring reports should be only 1 to 5 pages at most, should be written at no more than a 6th grade reading level. Don't sugarcoat the data. The data is what the data is. Whatever it says is what it says, good, bad, or ugly. Our ultimate goal is to determine what it is that, are we on track or not on track, and what we have to do to get on track. We want to be able to align, hear how the superintendent aligns monitoring with managerial action, be prepared, and if the student performance data is disappointing, then it's natural. School board members may be disappointed or would be disappointed. Unfortunately, not all of them will manage their disappointment in a mature, adult, and effective manner. Even if this happens, please don't get defensive. And so I'll share this with you, but I just want to kind of reset what we're doing and why we're doing and the cadence that we're doing this. And it, again, allows for the board to uphold the goal that we've established to really give focus on why school systems exist in the first place, for us to see positive outcomes for our students. So I just wanted to reset that. I know we have one report that we're doing today, and if we can start with that report, then we can practice what I just described. So thank you,
Well,
Dr. Martin.
first, I just want to see, does anyone else have any comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Jordan. Please go ahead, Dr. Pohl.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Dr. Martin, Vice Chair, Ms. Buffalo, members of the board, and Dr. Birdsong. This afternoon's presentation will focus on School Board Goal 2 and specifically PALS data. As a reminder to the public, Board Goal 2 is that the percentage of students reading on or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade, as measured by the Reading SOL test, will increase from 45% during school year 2020-2021, or accreditation year 21-22, to at least 75% during school year 2026-2027, or accreditation year 2027-2028. Excuse me. We'll start with the kindergarten results. This year, all demographic subgroups declined in the percentage of students identified for needing intervention, which is, of course, great news. So we saw declines from the fall previous to this fall in our students who are, in PALS, whenever we talk about students who are identified, those are students who are identified as needing additional interventions in their reading support. Additionally, all tasks except for beginning sounds showed improvement at or above benchmark level to start this year. And looking at first grade results, in grade 1, all subgroups showed improvement except for the Asian subgroup of students for being identified for needing interventions. So again, those negative numbers are green here because we want to see drops in the level of students who need identification on the PALS assessment. In fact, the majority of the improvement was seen in double digits. This chart shows the distribution of the sum scores for all first grade students over the past 4 years. This is a graph that is best seen with the right justification of the height of the bars. So we want to see it to the right side to be higher, meaning our students sum scored are higher for the fall assessment because that means they're stronger readers coming in. As compared to last year, the bars on the right-hand side are higher, which means our first grade students are starting the year stronger. In fact, I'd like to point out that the 80-plus bar, which is the highest scoring group, is higher than pre-pandemic levels. Moving to grade 2, all demographics saw improvements in the percentage of students identified for intervention. Similar to first grade, the majority are double-digit gains. Additionally, Asian students, students with disabilities, and English learner students are ahead of pre-pandemic results. Similar to the first grade sum score bar graph, there is an improved growth pattern to the high score ranges. And you'll see some of those yellow bars to the right are exceeding pre-pandemic levels as well. When looking at trend data for the first and second grade being the top 4 bar graphs, there's been steady declines for the readiness level readers over the past 3 years, with an increase in the third grade plus level this year that surpasses pre-pandemic levels, with 11.8% of first graders reading at a third grade plus reading level at the beginning of first grade. For grade 2, or the bottom 4 bars, the same declines are seen in the readiness levels from last year to this year, with increases in the highest reading level, with 36% of second graders reading at a third grade plus reading level at the beginning of second grade. As a reminder again, Board Goal 2 focuses on reading on grade level by grade 3. The first interim measure is with PALS data for grades 1 and 2, with a first grade interim target of 58% for proficiency. The actual data was 69.6% for our fall assessment, exceeding the target. The same for grade 2 with a target of 55% and an actual data of 62.1%. This data is the inverse of proficiency scores and focuses on students who are identified for needing interventions. As with the proficiency data, both grade levels exceeded targets. Although not presented during this presentation, included in Goal 2 is the grade 3 star for an interim measure, and as presented last month, both of the proficiency target and the urgent intervention target were not quite met. So what does the data show? Grades 1 and 2 exceeded their interim PALS targets, which points to meeting or exceeding third grade targets during school years 25 and 26. Grade 3, missing the interim proficiency star reading target by 2.4% and had nearly 5% more students than targeted for needing urgent intervention, which shows a greater need to focus on the reading skills of current third grade students to make the annual target for the current school year. A few areas of strength seen in the data include grade 3 showed a slight growth in proficiency as compared to last fall for the 2022 star reading data, so we did see improvements in proficiency. Grades 1 and 2 PALS data continues to have a strong upward trend towards higher levels with the sum score distributions as compared to the past 2 fall administrations. Grade 1 PALS scores exceeded pre-pandemic levels at the highest sum score range. And the number of students identified as needing intervention on PALS continues to decline for students in grades 1 and 2. And the percentage of students entering grade 2 reading at or above grade level has increased by 8% from the fall of 2022 PALS data that was collected. Of course, there are some areas for growth, include grade 3, that showed a slight increase in the number of students needing urgent intervention as compared to last fall. Grade 3 star data was relatively the same when compared to last year, and although PALS readiness levels continue to decline for grades 1 and 2, they're still above pre-pandemic levels. So some next steps are to include our focus on grade 3 reading including amending the elementary schedule in grade 3 to include a set 30 minutes per day dedicated to small group tutoring on reading, using all-in tutoring funds for additional tutors for third grade students for targeted support in reading, training the tutors in evidence-based literacy practices, continued professional development for teachers and building level administrators on the use of formative assessment data to drive small group instructional practice in the classrooms, increased instructional walkthroughs focused on alignment of lessons and teaching to the curriculum and standards, and working with schools to shift resources to provide interventions to identified students in grade 3. And also included was a report with the line graphs that were requested with the data. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Pohl. Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Pohl. As I was looking, first of all, thank you for the line graphs. They were easier to read. The charts are great, but the line graphs, especially with the proficiency, the data. My concern is the third grade data. And as I was looking at the data, I noticed, I can come to the conclusion that the third graders entered kindergarten, and correct me if I'm wrong, during the pandemic. So they didn't have a traditional kindergarten experience. So as they matriculate through K-12, as a school division, are we laser focused on those cohort of students and how they, I mean, we're looking at all our students, but because they came in, kindergarten with a non-traditional experience, are we putting interventions, I see what our next steps are, but are we really intentional about looking at these cohorts of children as they
So when we look at the data across different grade levels, we see different areas of weakness and strength. And, in grades 3 through 5 with reading, because even our 4th and 5th graders were in integral parts of their reading instruction when we had to close our schools for the pandemic and have instruction online. So the focus at our data meetings at the school level, the focus of the data work of the curriculum instruction team and the specialists is on where are those weaknesses. So it's less necessarily about specific cohorts, but there is a deep understanding of where were they in the reading, or math in a lot of instances as well, on instruction that was missed. And so what we do is called accelerated learning. And we work with the teachers on professional development on continuing with the standards and knowing where those weaknesses may be coming up to be able to go back and reteach that before we teach the standard that's on grade level.
And one more question, Dr. Martin. Our participation rate, we're really testing a large number of.
We are.
Okay, so this data reflects that.
Yeah, so I think when I reported the STAR, we were like 93, 95% of the students in PALS were equally as high. I'm sorry, I don't have that in the slides, but we had over 90% of our students
Okay.
who participated. So it is a good base set of data.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Vasine.
Thank you. Dr. Birdsong, I saw you. Did you have?
I did. I wanted to add
Oh,
something.
okay. I saw.
If that's okay, to Dr. Pohl's comments to Mrs. Buffalo. Also, I'm sure you know that when the students enter third grade, they're starting to read to learn. So of course, the rigor has significantly increased in the third grade. So while kindergarten through second grade, they're learning to read, third grade, the rigor is increased with content area, subject matter information, which makes things a little more difficult. And while we expect them to achieve at high levels, it's not uncommon to see a little dip, but we expect them to do better and to be reading on grade level. So we appreciate your question with that. And also, I know if we could talk a little bit about recognizing our teachers for their participation rate through our Rockstar program. You want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
so one of the things, we've really had a focus on this year too is just teacher recognition and celebrating our staff more. And this last month when we went out for teachers in grades 3 through 8, one of the things we did was we celebrated those teachers who had greater than 95% participation rate on their STAR assessments too, so that we know that they're helping to push the importance of this data, especially on the entry point of the year, to know kind of what's our jumping point.
First, to celebrate what we expect.
Great. Okay, Ms. Basine, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pohl. So, as you know, I had some questions about the PALS data and really looking at, similar to Ms. Moore Buffalo, looking at the cohorts and trying to assess, the correlation between, what we're seeing in those cohorts and then tying it to our overarching goal. And so I was wondering if you could speak to, so the question I had asked originally that Dr. Pohl had done had provided a response to was of the second grade students who took the spring PALS assessment for the 2022-23 school year and were not identified as needing intervention, which was 58.6%. What percentage of those students were proficient, such as at or above grade level, in reading in third grade on the fall assessment for the 2023-24 school year, and what percentage were on watch? So trying to break up, that group, since we had put them together in one whole group. And so I found it. I wonder if you could speak to the difference in the data. So in your response, and I appreciate you providing the response that you did. So of the students who were in second grade and took the PALS assessment that were not identified as needing intervention, that also took the third grade STAR assessment in the fall of 2023-24, 55.3% scored at or above the benchmark and 19.3% scored on watch, which is really good. And it's what you expect to see. But my question is really then around, like, as you mentioned in your response, for the overall, the grade 3 STAR reading assessment, it then is 36.3% who scored at or above grade level, and 14.3% which were on watch. And we talked about this, I know, last month when we received the monitoring report. But I was wondering if you could specifically talk about, I guess maybe this goes back to the participation rates, perhaps, and if you could talk about that, because that's a pretty big difference, from going from 55.3% to 36.3%. And I'm really, I guess, asking the question from our monitoring standpoint, how we might better monitor that or understand that, as we're looking quarter to quarter or, each assessment period. So if you could talk a little more about the participation rates and how that impacts what we're seeing in the monitoring report.
Well, with your specific question, Ms. Basine, I think there were about 160 students that had taken the spring PALS assessment that weren't on the STAR fall assessment. Whether they're still with us or not, we didn't have time to go through and see if they're still enrolled or not enrolled with those students, and that makes a little bit difference on our fall data. And it really is dependent upon, which students are taking it or aren't taking it at that point. Of the I think, and I didn't bring that data with me on the participation for STAR, but, of the third grade, I think we were at about 92 or 93% that took it during the fall, with somewhat of a transient population as well. All that really equates into it. And really what we had the opportunity to do was Mr. Williams and ARA did a correlation report real quick and was able to just let me know, here are the percentages of what you asked, and, the amount of students who weren't in there, which was about 160 that were missing students. So without having time to track student by student, it's really difficult to really get deeper into that. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just think for our benefit, I think it's, especially then when we look at our, at the end of the year, we're going to look and see, do we achieve our goal? And I think it's helpful for us to see, along the way, those participation rates and how it does impact our monitoring to see whether we do hit that target or don't hit that target, that we understand why we are hitting it or why we're not hitting it. So I think that would be helpful.
And that's, one of the reasons why we really push for that mid to high 90s participation rate, so that we have that data on every single one of our students. We work closely with SLD to allow principals to know the data so they can remind their teachers. It comes down to if a student was absent and there's not then they don't come in for the retake either. There are challenges that we have when it comes to getting this data in each of the test administrations we give for the assessment. But we know the importance of the more students who take it, the more solid the data is. That will give us a better footing. But also one of the exciting things about the PALS data, now remember, PALS gets more difficult through the year. So that sometimes is level data. The past few years we've managed to increase from fall to spring, and that's our hopes, is to keep that trend going. But already starting at the percentages where we're starting this year, knowing that we'll have more coming into third grade if we keep even this kind of a rate of transfer, is very positive news right now for our younger students. Because these students have been with us. There were differences when they were at home with the pandemic before even coming in or starting pre-K in the pandemic. But for K-1, 2, they've been ours in school, those who have been attending Norfolk those 3 years.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
So, Ms. Tanner, can you pull up the other report? Monitoring report, the non-PowerPoint. So if you go to the first page, so I think I understood what my colleagues were speaking to in terms of participation rates and the STAR info. But for me, it's helpful to be able to know what page we're on, so we all can be looking at the same thing at the same time. So no, it's no. I'm just saying for me, because I couldn't quite. I just want us to be able to follow. So, Dr. Pohl, if you don't mind, can you just walk me or walk us through this again? So, we have so the interim goals that we have for the year under PALS are the two. One is from 60.7% spring of last year to 65% this upcoming spring for first graders, and then 58.6% to 63% for second graders. So under the PALS piece, those are the two interim goals that we would be monitoring. And so then you indicated that for first grade, we established a fall target of 58%, but we actually scored 69.6.
Right.
So, what does that tell us? Does that follow a trend that we normally would see, or what is it about this year? Is that what you're referring to in terms of how long the students have been with us that would indicate the difference between what you were anticipating, the fall target of being 58%, but the actual being 11 points higher?
So when we reviewed the data to set the targets, we looked at growth from year to year. When we looked from the 55 to the 60, we looked at 5% is a good growth line. So that's that's where we met that, why the end-of-year target was around, it was 4.3% higher than where we ended last year. So knowing that, we knew that the lowest we could really come in was 58 and still show some growth through the year that we've seen in previous years. But we also knew with PALS sometimes that since it gets harder, we've seen years where the fall has been higher than the spring because it becomes a harder test. By the end of first and second grade, they should be reading better. So we need to test them harder to make sure that they are up to the challenge. So when we set these data marks, that 58% fall was set knowing that would be the lowest we could really get and still feel comfortable getting up to our 65%. So the fact that we hit the 69.6 in the fall, which is higher than we've hit in the fall over the past 3 years, we can see interventions that are working with the PALS tutors that we've been having in place now for 3 years, making that difference with our scores, with our students in the fall.
So then would we keep the rest of the year targets the same and just follow our progress? Or do you think that in light of what you're seeing, that the winter target and the spring target could be more aggressive?
I think it's hard to set up goals with moving targets, Mr. Jordan. I think we've set 5-year targets to hit the goal of 75% for the main target.
Right.
And because of that, we've looked at interim targets each year to set. So I think for this year, we maintain where we are. But you notice we didn't set a fall and winter interim target every year as we go through. So the interim targets are what we're looking for that year, but I don't believe in moving our targets around based on our performance.
Okay.
We outpaced our target.
Okay, well, I think that's great. And I just wanted to have the understanding behind it. So I follow the same thing then with second grade. Then if we go to
and this is just, with PALS, this data is really just the inverse. You have your proficient or your ID'd.
Right.
Is where it comes in. So this is just, we want to see the trend go the opposite direction.
And right, and so the second box is just that, correct? Okay. So then when we get down to the star reading, we have 2 interim goals within that, if I'm following correctly. So the first one being percentage of students scoring proficient will increase from 58.7 in the spring to 63% in the upcoming spring. So we had so when you indicate talk again about what we're seeing with on the star side.
So with the star side, we know we have to be a little bit more aggressive with our third graders. As Ms. Buffalo pointed out wisely earlier, these were the students who entered our school system under a pandemic. And our scores aren't where we need them to be, which is where, especially with the support of the All-In Plan for Virginia and adding those, 30 minutes of small group instruction and being able to add funding for tutors, we know third grade is a target. So here, if you look at our past, like on the line graph, the past 2 springs, we were at pretty level with third grade. And, if you remember in the presentation, I said one of the not so great pieces of data is our third grade data came in around the same as it has the past few falls. So we're not moving that needle, but our PALS data also hasn't moved as aggressively. So I think we're getting there. But our current third graders, we really need to concentrate on is what this data is telling us, and we need to have some strong reading focus with third grade.
So on the remaining parts of the report, so you all changed our language. Can you change our language back, please? And so that
I'm sorry. I just want. Are you talking about for the
Yes.
like the titles? Okay.
yeah.
That's
So because what we're trying to be able to determine. So in the first block, be able to determine whether or not the administration sees if we're on track or not. And I'm thinking because of what you showed us with the being 10 points ahead of what was expected. We're definitely on track with the first piece.
Right.
And then the STARS piece would say for both of the interim goals would not be on track, but we would be able to then understand that you consider it not to be on track and then be able to show your assessment of why that is, and then as you have there, what the intentions would be for us to be able to get back on track.
Okay.
Comments at this time?
Anyone else? Thank you.
And just to, again, to clarify, Ms. Jordan, you're referring to the document that you had shared with the board
Yeah,
with
we
the
did a-
boxes on it?
Yeah.
And I reworded those, just, I apologize for that, but.
Well,
I
it's
can get
okay.
back
No,
and
we
look
had
at
a
it. I
template.
thought the same feeling was there, but.
Well, yeah. Well, we agreed to a template, so just like you don't like to change goals, I think we should stick with the.
I just didn't recall that agreement to a specific template, so my apologies.
And neither did I, to be quite honest, because when you said that, I thought, I don't recall there being an agreement on.
Yeah, we did. We did the sample. That was the other reason why I kept asking for the line graphs. So when we had the conversation, I think it was in August and September, we agreed to a template because what we're really trying to do is to, break it out and make it simple. And that's one of the reasons why I keep talking about like the PowerPoint and the other data, because like we did the PowerPoint first and then we did the monitoring report. So in our cadence, if we focus on going through the monitoring reports, it can streamline our focus on what we're trying to monitor there. And then on a separate place on the agenda, if we want to have a place where we can get more data and more information, I think that's good. But to allow the board to be focused on our goal, I think just having the monitoring report and having that format allows us when we receive it, because I didn't go through everything, but the other thing we should be doing as a board when we receive the report is that then gives us the opportunity to ask questions in advance about what is, any questions that we have. So when we come in for the conversation, you all would already have that and probably would have already responded like you did with Ms. Bassine's question. But I think if we have too much stuff, then it invites us to ask all kinds of questions about things that may not be the focus of the two goals or two interim goals or areas that we're monitoring on that particular.
I hope you noticed, I did severely
Yes, thank you.
shrink the PowerPoint and the data that was provided based off comments last time.
Working very hard to streamline these reports, so we appreciate your feedback, but truly, we thought that was given as an example. Otherwise, we would have, if we had known that it was a standard format that you wanted, we would have certainly adhered to that.
We're just practicing.
I know.
Yeah.
Just, we would like just clarity when things are
Yes.
emailed as samples. If this is something that you want the administration to use, we'd like to hear from the board that this is the direction you want us to go in. As opposed to different examples, we don't know whose example to choose to use, so we come up with our own.
Well, in that instance, I didn't email it. We brought it to the board, and we walked through it, and we asked if anybody wanted to make any adjustments or anything, and so that's how we came up with that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Ms. Basine, go ahead.
I just have a final question. So you spoke to the tremendous positive impact that our PALS tutors are having in showing this positive improvement with our PALS data. And I know we have, with the All-In, we have tutors, funded to support our third graders and beyond as well. So, but would you say that that's synonymous with having the PALS tutors? Because, I think we'd all like to see that level of
So, great
improvement.
question, Ms. Bassine. For With our PALS tutors, we've been in for 3 years now, and those are local. We were able to find local folks and hire them, and we do training with them once a month. And I do think they've had a great impact on what we're seeing because of the small group work they do. For this year, the VDOE laid out some guidelines, and we were very specific in the data we've shared with principals around here are your students at the score levels. We gave them specific rosters of current, classrooms to make sure that those students are getting the tutoring for the amount of time each week for grades 3 through 8. So it is, very specific, but we know grade 3, the more we do with the young and the stronger we're going to grow, kind of like when I first talked to you guys about PALS tutors, that importance of really focusing on K-1-2 might not make the difference tomorrow, but in 10 years, it's all the difference.
And so are we at risk of, as we go through our ESSER funding, are we at risk of having to reduce or eliminate the level of tutors? And is that something that the board needs to consider?
So if you recall, the board graciously voted last year on funds that the city held. It was a little over $9 million that will carry us through 24-25.
Right.
And we've been working with Ms. Spivey. We would be Dr. Kimsey and I, because Dr. Kimsey and I are always begging for the tutors and the funding, to make sure that it remains in place. And, because we do see the success in those areas.
Okay, so it's a priority.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I think we would all agree on that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pohl.
Thank you, guys.
All right, up next, we have our executive session. Can I get a motion to move into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we move into an executive closed session.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Clanton, and thank you, Ms. Moore Buffalo, for seconding.
Move that the members of the school board go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of Section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board of the city of Norfolk pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. The subject of this portion of the session is the discussion of personnel in today's regular personnel agenda and discussion of the performance of additional personnel in several departments of the administration, discussion of or consideration of disciplinary and any other matters concerning students in Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A2 of the Act. The subject of this portion of this session is the discussion of students on today's regular student support agenda, in consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by the counsel pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A8 of the Act. The subject of this portion of this closed session is for legal advice regarding the matters set above in subsections A and B of this motion. Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
And Martin?
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Call you when we're ready. Mr. Phillips.
Motion to come out of executive session, please.
Madam Chair, you got it? All right. Madam Chair, I move that we certify the executive closed session.
I second.
A resolution certifying the executive meeting of the school board of the city of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas the school board of the city of Norfolk has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board of the city of Norfolk that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be resolved that the school board of the city of Norfolk hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the executive meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the executive meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board of the city of Norfolk. Basine? Buffalo?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
And Martin.
Aye. Okay, thank you all very much. I will call this business portion of the meeting to order. Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine? Buffalo?
Here.
Clanton?
Present.
Jordan?
Here.
Stone?
Here.
And Martin.
Present. Okay. Thank you very much. Up next, we have our student representative, Cameron Satter, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers to be turned off or to vibrate during the course of the meeting. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cameron. Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt our business agenda?
I move to adopt our business agenda.
I second. Okay, thank you.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
And Martin.
Aye. Okay. The business agenda is adopted. Up next, we have our student musical performance.
Yes, by the Granby High School Choir. Channel 47 can roll the video.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Martin, Vice Chair Moore Buffalo, school board members, Dr. Birdsong, administrators, and guests. My name is Zach Rooksby, and I'm the Senior Coordinator of Music and Theater Instruction. At the core of every music class is a process of developing skills and talents to showcase for a performance. Here in NPS music classrooms, it is our philosophy that every child can benefit from the process of learning music skills and music literacy, and these benefits can have a positive effect on a child's development and learning. Musical performances also give parents, guardians, friends, and family members a unique insight into their child's learning in a music classroom and provides the opportunity to add spirit and joy to our communities. During this season, Norfolk students will participate in over 60 live musical performances throughout our schools. It's not too late to attend one of these amazing performances. You can find a list of our music concerts on the Norfolk Public Schools social media outlets. This evening, I'm proud to feature one of these amazing performances from the students of the Granby High School Chorus under the direction of Aji Church. Mr. Church's work as a choral director at Granby High School continues to enrich and inspire students in that community. His students will be performing Winter Wonderland, arranged by Ed Lojeski. Thank you for your continued support of music education, and happy holidays to everybody.
Where happy
Thank you. Okay, up next we have our superintendent's report. Go ahead, Dr. Birdsong.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to school board members, administration, all of our visitors here this evening, and our community. Each month, we take the opportunity to showcase the wonderful work of our children. This month, we have so many highlights we want to share with you that are super, super exciting. Two of the things that you will see in the video this evening include recognition of Calcott Elementary School. We are celebrating Calcott Elementary School, the children, the principal, the teachers and staff of the school. The school has been nominated for a national ESEA Distinguished School Award, and the school is one of 2 schools in the whole state that are recognized for outstanding achievements, specifically with closing achievement gaps. So again, congratulations to Principal Danielle McIntyre, the teachers and the staff, and the beautiful, brilliant children of Calcott Elementary School. Please join me in giving them a hand, and you'll see a little more of that on the video. And this past weekend, we had the distinct pleasure of witnessing another state championship. Maury High School, our Commodores defeated Stonebridge High School. Yes. It was such a wonderful game. So they are the VHSL Class 5, national, not yet, state champions, and we're still celebrating their successes under our wonderful coach, Coach Diary McCain. He is doing a wonderful, wonderful job with our children. He is a record-breaking coach. He is an excellent faculty member at Maury High School, and according to his principal, she really enjoys having him on staff because he certainly cares about the academics more than he does the athletics, and we all know that's very important. He has sent 50 of our scholars to just top-notch colleges across the nation. So again, I want to congratulate Coach McCain, our talented football players at Maury High School, and the staff in our community for supporting Maury, because you showed up in Charlottesville on Saturday night, and we were so very pleased. We were celebrating the kids. We had a great time, so I really appreciate your support of that. So without further ado, Channel 47, please roll the video.
Families gathered at Norview High as our middle and high schools presented their unique options for students.
We are excited about our specialty programs for the 24-25 school year. We have tremendous opportunities for our students to come out and look at some of the things that we have going on to invest in their future. And I think parents agree with us, as we have had a full house tonight.
Displays in the commons area as well as brief overviews in the auditorium help students and parents understand what each of the 11 specialty programs were all about.
I think it's a great idea because, you know, we're going into it, we're undecided, and so it's nice to see different options all at the same time rather than having to go to individual open houses over several weeks.
It's awesome. I mean, I really did not expect this. It's like, you know, a lot of people, a lot of information, but it's pretty awesome.
Being able to talk to students and faculty from each school was a huge plus to those in attendance.
It's really it really helps me and make sure it stops me from being scared because I can see how other people succeed and think that can be me.
I hope they get the fact that we are investing in them and their future, and we have so many different pathways of interest for them, and I want them to know that we're going to work with them again no matter what.
Lake Taylor School became the second school in our district to receive a very prestigious honor.
We celebrated becoming recognized by Apple as an Apple Distinguished School for the years of 2023 through 2026. We took the whole entire school over to the stadium where we celebrated and we shared some of the things that we have done to get to this point.
Representatives from Apple, Central Administration, and the city were on hand to celebrate. This partnership with Apple Education has created iMac Labs and allowed teachers and students to have access to iPads and MacBooks.
the jobs that we have, that students can have in the future, that haven't even been invented, many of them yet. And so we want students to be right on that cutting edge, and through their perseverance and their hard work, they're really in a place, a great place to be, where it's the marriage of and integration of technology and really working hard and getting us to where the kids really need to be for their futures.
String students at the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood have been receiving instruction from a member of the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. As part of their African American Fellowship Program, Daphne Henderson, a bass player in the orchestra, visits the school to help teach and inspire these young musicians.
It is such an amazing program to have a Virginia Symphony specialist come in and work with the students. They adore her when she comes in. They just light up. And then she gets to come over and work with the different sections, give them tips on fingerings and bowing. So we are just so grateful to have her here at ADL.
It's fun and she has helped me out a lot. Like, whenever I've had trouble on a song, she has come and helped me figure it out. Like, one time I had trouble playing it, and she showed me how I would play the notes correctly.
It's very refreshing. It's very nice. It's something that I wish that I had when I was younger. I came from a magnet school where we focused a lot more on STEM than performing arts, and having someone come in and being able to coach and help teach and everything would have been so much more inspiring to me. So I'm glad to be able to provide those opportunities and resources for young musicians.
The NPS School to School Attendance Challenge is still going strong as our students and staff continue to challenge each other to get to school on time every day, ready to learn. Throughout the challenge, it's been fun to watch the tapping of the next school with the NPS attendance flag. The latest passing of the flag had the koalas of Tanners Creek Elementary riding over to Norview Elementary in style to challenge the Dolphins to step up attendance for a brighter future.
Congratulations to Norview High's Kiana Mitchell. The senior was named Atlantic Orthopedic Specialist Athlete of the Month for October.
I'm very proud. I never won nothing like this before, so it does feel good that my hard work is paying off.
The honor roll student, who plays both volleyball and basketball, is known as an excellent leader and teammate.
I feel like I have good leadership skills, and I can pick up my team when I need to, and I just can be a change.
Her personality, her character traits that she displays on and off the court consistently shows that she can lead not only in volleyball but off the court, and as well as the other sports that she participates in at Norview High School.
Third time's the charm for the Maury Commodores. After coming up short in the championship game the last 2 years, the Commodores can now call themselves state champs once again, as they defeated Stonebridge 45-34 in the Class 5 state final.
It's been a long few years, man, losing back-to-back. Everything being said about you, and the guys fought in the offseason. We're here now, came out of Charlottesville. We got the opponent that we wanted. We wanted this opponent in this game, so just proud of the guys for bouncing back from adversity and finishing this time.
Check out our YouTube page for more highlights and details about this game. A special shout out to Deshaun Langley, the Commodore student assistant who's a 5th grader at Ghent School. He didn't miss one practice or team function all season as he embodied the team's will and dedication.
Members of the Virginia Department of Education stopped by Mary Calcott Elementary to surprise Principal Danielle McIntyre and her staff with a prestigious honor.
We are here at Calcott Elementary to recognize them as Virginia's nominee for the National ESEA Distinguished School Award for the state of Virginia. They're one of 2 schools that were chosen, and they were chosen in the category of closing the achievement gap.
We're here to celebrate Mrs. McIntyre and her school for the distinguished award that she received today. She is a fabulous leader. She's done an excellent job improving the achievement gaps here at Mary Calcott Elementary School. She is outstanding. Her staff is collaborative, and they work very hard to achieve this accomplishment. for the students. Our school over the past 2 years have done a really good job at really targeting some of our gap groups, and we were able to make some significant gains with closing the achievement gap. We applied for the award and just really didn't know what the status was. So to actually receive this is just, it's exciting for me and my staff.
Students and staff members were recognized for their academic and athletic accomplishments and outstanding service during the school board recognition ceremony at Norview High School. Among the dozens of certificates handed out were the first 40-plus awards for exceptional volunteers and the No Matter What Award, which recognizes staff members who go above and beyond. Members of state and city governments visited several of our schools during the annual Bring Your Legislators to School Day. Principals invited these lawmakers inside classrooms to see firsthand what's happening so they could better understand the needs of the school division. Following the tours, everyone gathered at Southside STEM Academy at Compostela to formally discuss the division's top legislative priorities. The value and importance of a day like this was not lost on those in attendance.
To talk about the needs of the school division and how they can help us get funding for our needs. You know, technology, we talk about tutoring programs to help our kids to advance and great student outcomes, and also talk about how we can tackle this absenteeism and just funding the dollars so to help support schools.
I think it's a part of us being about action, not just words. Come and see for yourself. Come and spend some time. Let's see what the teachers are going through. Let's find out where we can help when we're making decisions, where we have a better understanding of actually what's being dealt with on a daily basis.
It's so vital because, you know, a lot of public education at the state level involves dollars and funding and policy, and it can seem a little bit removed. And so it is vital that we're in the classrooms, we can see students, we can talk to teachers, meet principals, ask questions, get feedback, and also hear their ideas so that we can champion them when we're in session in Richmond in 2024.
Parents in the community cheered on students at Taylor Elementary as they ran around the school and neighborhood during their annual fun run. The event, which has been going on for about 30 years, raised nearly $15,000 this year to purchase new PE equipment and items for their auditorium. More importantly, students realized that they could overcome challenges by supporting each other.
It's a community. It takes everybody cheering together. We can all succeed no matter what, and we are all together. It is a challenge, but nobody comes across that line alone. So it was great to see all the kids give it their all. Nobody gave up, and it was a great day.
I mean, I tear up every year just seeing the kids that are, you know, even if they're behind, they finish. And for the fifth graders, it means so much. That, you know, most of them have been doing this since kindergarten. And it's just so nice to see everybody working together and just really, you know, just being together and finishing, because that's what matters.
I think that it's amazing because when we do things like this, we build social skills and we just have a lot of fun together. I think I did great, according to me. I got around and I had grit and I didn't give up.
For more stories and information about what's happening in Norfolk Public Schools, visit the NPS homepage and click on the YouTube link.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, if anyone has any children, I'd like them to go first for public comment. Is there anyone here who signed up for public comment that has children? Okay, I'd like for you to go first. What's your name?
Well, first, before you do that,
okay.
Dr. Martin, I need to make this statement.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Chairman Dr. Martin, for today's citizens' comments, we have 10 speakers. Before we begin, I'd like to know if we have any individuals in need of an interpreter for the citizens' comment portion of our board meeting right now. So if you could please raise your hand. Those who are in need of an interpreter. One? Yes. Okay, thank you. We have an interpreter from Voyance who will interpret the information that I'm about to read to the audience and assist with interpreting your public comments when it's your turn to give public comments tonight. We ask that you please pause at times to allow our interpreter to remain in sync with your comments. And I'd like to ask the interpreter right now to introduce himself at this time.
Buenas tardes, seré su intérprete de inglés. Interpretaré todo lo que diga y lo mantendré confidencial. Por favor, hable en frases cortas. ¿Me permite continuar?
And can you tell us your name, sir?
This is the interpreter speaking. Un momento, por favor. My name is Julio.
Thank you, Julio.
You're welcome.
I'm going to begin, and I'm going to pause for you. Today's speakers signed up for public comments before the start of today's business meeting.
Muy bien, voy a comenzar y voy a estar pausando para que hable el intérprete. La persona que va a estar hablando el día de hoy se inscribió para hablar aquí en esta junta pública de negocios.
If you would like to provide public comments, you're required to state your agenda item or topic you're addressing prior to providing your public comments at the meeting.
Y si quisiera hacer un comentario público, sí se requiere que dé un breve resumen del tema que va a estar hablando en esta junta pública.
When your name is called, please come forward to the speaker's podium and state your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or employed by the district, and state your agenda item.
Cuando se diga su nombre, si por favor puede pasar aquí al podio y si puede decir su nombre y decir si tiene un hijo en una de las escuelas o si está contratado por el distrito.
One person is to speak at a time. If you represent a group, state your group's name, and you may stand with your group to be recognized.
Necesitamos que una persona esté hablando a la vez y si va a estar representando a un grupo, el grupo se puede parar a la misma vez para que se reconozca.
Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes, and a timer is set with an alarm that will signify the end of your speaking time.
La hora para el discurso sería de 3 minutos y se va a estar programando un cronómetro de tiempo que va a estar programando una alarma cuando se haya terminado el tiempo para hablar.
State your position, give facts and other relevant data. Avoid saying anything that identifies students or personnel information or individual employees.
Si pueden nombrar su posición y los hechos que son relevantes y también si pueden evitar identificar a estudiantes o el personal o empleados individuales.
Personnel, disciplinary, and confidential matters may be addressed directly to the school board via email at schoolboard@npsk12.com.
The interpreter requires a petition. Un momento, por favor. So you said schoolboard.mps and then what else?
K12.com. Comments should be addressed to the board and not addressed to an individual member, and school board members do not respond to public comments when they are given.
Si van a tratar un asunto de un empleado confidencial, pueden dirigirlos al correo electrónico schoolboard.mps@12.com.
And any written statements or supporting materials should be given to the clerk. You can give it to me prior to speaking and giving comments.
Y cualquier material por escrito o declaración debería de ser entregada a mí o al secretario antes de estar hablando públicamente estos comentarios.
Okay, and thank you for your patience. And Dr. Martin, you signified there was 2 parents here with children?
Yes, if they've signed up for public comment, I'd like for them to go first.
You know her name?
Good evening.
Wait a minute, hold on one second. Did you sign up for the budget hearing?
No.
Okay.
The citizen comment.
Okay, I see you. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Angelo. I am a public school parent. There's 10 children in my home, 6 of whom are public school students. I am also a family preservation advocate, a special needs parent, and a member of the Virginia Parent Council. I'm here in support of the community learning centers. I am a parent who formerly homeschooled and has enrolled my children back in public school this year. I'm very much in support of teachers and the hard work that they do. And as a former special education para, I am aware that there's lots of, struggles that the teachers and the staff are facing. And there are a lot of parents who really want to be involved. There are a lot of families, I know that Norfolk is losing students every year, and I think that the reason for that is because parents want to be included not just in a token way, but in an authentic way that actually values what we have to offer. My experience being a homeschool parent, in addition to being a public school parent, has been that there are quite a few parents, low-income parents as well, parents of color, parents whose first language is not English, who are very invested in our children's education. But I have personally had the experience of my child misbehaving at school, and I said, well, I'd like to come and sit in the classroom. I know that's what we did back in the day. I'd like to come sit in the classroom and help her focus, and they said no. As a special ed para, I said, I will come and volunteer in my child's inclusion classroom because you guys are understaffed, and you do need the assistance. They said no. So we want to be included, we want to be valued. We know that when you engage families in an authentic way, in a holistic way, that the children then feel that they have a nurturing community around them, and they're more likely to succeed because they see that the caring is authentic. And so I am very much in support of that, and I would also like to point out that there are quite a few of us who have homeschooled more or less out of necessity, because we did not feel that we were supported in supporting our children. We will come back to public school. There are homeschool parents out there that will come back, and we'll bring our enthusiasm, we'll bring our talents, our resources, and now it's not just benefiting our children, it's benefiting everyone's children, but we need to know that the school board is behind us, and that these community learning centers are a great way for the entire family to be involved, so parents are active participants. So we see parents in the hallways every day so that these resources that many of our parents have to offer can actually be utilized, that we're not just being told, oh, we want you guys to engage, but when we try to engage, we're facing roadblocks. So I am here to say that if you guys support the community learning centers, you will have a lot of very invested parents who will come back to the Norfolk public school system and will absolutely, absolutely dedicate our time and resources to support the greater community. Thank you. Thank you.
And who was the next family? Well, she was trying to get the parents who have children. So is there anyone else that has a child here that you need to go?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
We'll go back into order now. Linda Perez. And the interpreter will assist you. If you can let her know, Ms. McMath.
Buenas noches a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Linda Pérez. Estoy acá.
Good night. Good night to everyone present. My name is Linda Pérez.
Estoy acá representando a una parte de la comunidad latina.
I'm here representing a part of the Latino community.
Pidiendo apoyo de todos ustedes para que hayan recursos en apoyo a nosotros pues estamos acá en un país diferente y queremos dar lo mejor de nosotros y entre ellos están nuestros hijos que son el futuro de un mejor lugar.
And we're asking for support from all of you guys so that we can obtain resources to obtain support for us who are here in a different country and who want to get a better world for our kids and for them to have a better future and a better place.
Mi hija está en segundo grado en la escuela Turner Screen Elementary. Cuando llegué acá a Estados Unidos, mi primer lugar de donde he vivido es aquí en Norfolk.
My daughter, she's in second grade and here in Turner Springs Elementary. And when I first got here to the US, the first place where I lived was in North Farm.
Y una de las problemáticas que vi cuando llegué fue la falta de información acerca de mi caso, ya que yo llegué en un tiempo en el que el año escolar ya había empezado. Como dije antes, soy nueva en el país y la cultura y todo es totalmente diferente, por lo que el cambio fue drástico y pues los recursos que teníamos no eran suficientes para tener una mejor información al momento de ingresar a mi hija al colegio.
And one of the problems that I saw when we first got here was the fact that there was information missing regarding my case for the school year that had already had started. And like I said before, we were new in this country, and the culture and everything was totally different. And we went through a very drastic change, and there were not enough resources or enough information provided regarding enrolling my daughter to school.
Es obvio que nuestro principal barrera es el inglés, el idioma. Queremos aportar lo mejor de nosotros, dándole una buena enseñanza y un buen futuro para nuestros hijos. Como madre de una niña en progreso, quiero que por favor nos apoyen. Estamos acá para dar lo mejor de nosotros y pues con su ayuda esto será una realidad. Muchas gracias.
So it's pretty obvious that our main obstacle is the English, is the fact that we don't know the language, and we want to provide what's best for from us, and we just want for our kids to also learn, and for them to be able to have a good future. And as a mother of a girl that is in the process of learning, I would ask if you guys can help us and support us in our attempts to give our best, so that and I would ask for you guys to help us make this a reality. Thank you so much.
And our next speaker is going to use the assistance of the interpreter as well. And please forgive me if I do not pronounce your name properly. Mirna Valadares.
Y el siguiente hablante también va a estar usando la asistencia del intérprete y por favor discúlpeme si no digo su nombre correctamente. Mirna Valadares.
Valladares.
Valladares.
Buenas tardes, estimado jurado público. Estoy aquí en representación de las escuelas públicas de Norfolk, representando también a los padres hispanos, ya que estamos en este país, no venimos a hacer una carga, sino a hacer un apoyo para el país Estados Unidos, porque tendremos que...
Permítame,
Okay.
por favor.
Se me olvida que estoy en esta.
So, good afternoon to the public and to the judges that are here. I'm a Hispanic parent that is representing here on Norfolk public schools, and I'm also Hispanic, a Hispanic parent in this country. And I just wanted to emphasize that we're not here to be like a load or a burden. We're here to support this country.
Bueno, estoy siempre, ya es la segunda reunión que estoy y tengo a mi hija Eliana en la escuela Azalea Garden School y a mi hijo de 5 años, Pre-K, en la Little Creek. Entonces, estoy aquí porque vemos que hay muchas faltas de apoyo hacia la comunidad hispana. Necesitamos muchos recursos que hacen falta como para traductores, también a veces hay niños que llegan con muchos problemas por circunstancias de la vida. A veces sabemos padres que trabajamos demasiado y no estamos muy atentos a nuestros hijos.
Requires a petition. Señora, ¿cuál es el nombre de su hijo de 5 años? Perdón.
Ruber Ortiz.
Thank you. Gracias. Well, so this would be the second meeting that I attend to, and I have a daughter, my daughter Eliana, from Acela Garden School, and I also have another kid who is 5 years old, Ruben Ortiz. And I am here just to emphasize like the fact that we are in need of support from the community, from the community for towards the Hispanic community. We need a lot of resources that are missing, like translators, and also like there's a lot of kids that come here and are going through a lot of problems due to life situations of parents that they have that work a lot and are not able to provide a lot of attention to them, to the kids.
Bueno, yo siempre he dicho que tienen que haber, no sé si estoy mal en esto, pero siempre tienen que haber psicólogos para tratar con los niños o consejeros que puedan hablar con los niños, porque se está viendo una situación muy preocupante en las escuelas, lo cual hay mucho terror, me duele esto porque nunca lo vi en mi país y lo estoy viendo acá, donde niños están siendo abreviados y tal vez no es porque ellos quieren, sino por la falta de comunicación. Y hace unos días yo fui a la escuela a ofrecerme ayuda y yo dije, yo no hablo inglés, pero me gustaría aprenderlo porque a mí me encanta aprender en la vida. Y les ofrecí mi ayuda, que si podía yo poder ayudar, aunque sea con traductores, a poder tratar con niños, para poder dialogar con ellos, y porque los niños, yo creo que lo que necesitan es comunión, y eso necesitamos mucha de su apoyo, Y por favor, no nos olviden que estamos en Norfolk. Necesitamos de su apoyo porque es muy triste lo que se está viendo. Hace 8 días a mi hija la hicieron, la agredieron de su cabello, la agarraron del pelo. Y eso no está bien porque uno necesita.
Permítame. Well, I have always said this, that there should be more help with psychologists and for the kids with coaches, a therapist, and the situation is very concerning because there's a lot of terror that it's being lived, and it hurts me because and like back in my country, I wouldn't see those attacks that we see in with the kids here, and there's like miscommunication. And like a couple days ago, I offered my help, and I don't know English, and I would like to learn English. Because I love to learn in life, and I went ahead and offered my help, and with it if and if and if in and if in order to provide help I needed an interpreter, that would be fine. But I went ahead and offered my help with the kids at the school, so that I would be able to talk to them, because I need that. I think that there's a need of community among them, and we are in need of support. And please don't forget about us. Please don't forget about the fact that there's people like us here in North um, and because there's problems that we're going through right now. Um, and it's sad because like 8 days ago, my daughter, she was attacked. They were pulling her hair, and that's not okay.
Bueno, solo lo último que tengo para decir es que esperamos de su ayuda, de su apoyo, tanto a los padres hispanos como a los maestros, porque creo que los maestros solos no pueden, tienen que tener más apoyo. Y si nos uniéramos, tanto hispanos como americanos, creo que sería una comunidad mejor y trataríamos de hacerlo mejor y espero de su ayuda. Sé que no somos muchos los que habemos hispanos aquí en la reunión, pero hay muchos hispanos interesados en esto mismo. No todos tenemos el mismo tiempo, no todos optan por venir a hablar hacia el público porque no está fácil, pero yo estoy en representación de ellos y espero de su colaboración y por favor no olviden escuelas públicas de Norfolk. Gracias.
Our next speaker for this evening is Elise McMath.
The translator has to
Oh,
speak.
I'm sorry. You can go ahead, interpreter.
Well, and I just wanted to say this, and I hope that we can receive the support um, that we are in need of, the Hispanic community and also the teachers, because I believe that the teachers are not able to do this alone. There's more need for more support, and we have to be united as Hispanic people and the teachers, so that we can have a better community, and so we can receive more help and have a better community. And I'm representing Hispanic people here in this meeting. I'm representing a lot of Hispanic people that are interested in topics like this, like this ones. But maybe they don't have the time that I have, or maybe they don't. They don't want to come here and speak in front of everyone because it's not an easy thing to do. But I'm here to represent them, and I have hopes for the public school district and I have hopes for them to provide the support.
And I want to thank you and ask you just to remain because we'll need your assistance during the public hearing as well. All right, Elise McMath.
Good evening, members of the board, Chair Martin, Superintendent Birdsong. My name is Elise McMath. I'm a former high school teacher. I'm a proud product of Virginia Public Schools. I I am here tonight representing New Virginia Majority and joined by parents of our education justice group here in Norfolk. We're here tonight, first and foremost, requesting that Dr. Birdsong please commit to allocating funds for 3 community school coordinator positions in her upcoming budget. We believe that community school model that is working in schools across the country would work here in Norfolk. I can say from my experience as a public school teacher, how many of my students had so much potential to succeed, but unfortunately due to real economic barriers in their life, their education wasn't their priority. And the idea of the community schools is to house those resources right there in the building to address those socioeconomic barriers. I also feel it's worth noting that in light of what happened at Maury High School yesterday, the violent incident, I also can speak from experience. I taught at a school not in this district, but where one of my students brought a fully loaded magazine along with an assault rifle to school. And unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say, but when we found out what student it was, none of me or my coworkers were surprised. And that isn't to say that this student was bad. He was incredible. He was outgoing. He was the center of attention, but we all saw it coming from a mile away, and we all could have said that we knew that this student needed more support. And that is what the community schools model has to offer the city of Norfolk. It's worked in Norfolk before. It can work again. I also feel compelled to say that when the consulting firm, the education firm back in July, presented to the board, they gave Norfolk Public Schools the lowest grade in family and community engagement, and they offered community schools model as a solution to this. And so that's why we're here today asking that Dr. Birdsong please commit to a pilot program. We want to try community schools at 3 schools in Norfolk. A lot of our parents have said that one school being a school with a high population of Hispanic students would be great. This is a model that can support families. It could build a bridge between the community and the school that is clearly broken. Housing those resources in the building will invite parents into the building, be more active in their students' education. Thank you so much for all that you do. Keep up the great work. Have a great night. Thank you.
Next, we have Jazz Garcia. Mary Fox.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Mary Fox. My daughter is Annika Fox. She is a freshman at Maury, and she is in the Medical and Health Specialties program. My agenda item is the Maury School rebuild and renovation, and I'm here with Maury parents Julie Malcolm and Megan Morehouse. Members of the school board, I know I speak for so many parents, some of you who are here and some who cannot be here. We thank you for your vote last week. We're very appreciative on the vote to build a new Maury High School building. We're grateful for your consideration, the passionate words of Dr. Gabriel and others supporting the need for the new building. As the plans for this high school building move forward, the parents of current and future Maury students have 3 primary questions, which I would like to share with you, understanding that you cannot answer them at this time. We'll submit them via email later. Our first question is about the timeline. Is 6 years your conservative estimate for the opening of the new Maury High School building, or is there a possibility of expediting any of the processes to enable the new building to open before then? If so, what measures can be taken toward that outcome, and how can we support and endorse that plan as parents? Number 2, our next question is about the current Maury High School building. We all know that the building is in incredibly poor shape. It will doubtless fall into more disrepair over the next 6 years. What is the plan to maintain the building in the years between now and when the new building is completed? And is there a point of no return when systems will no longer be maintained in the current building? Number 3, our final question is, what is the contingency plan in the event that a developer for the old Maury building cannot be found or backs out of the deal? For example, the developer, the scheduled redevelopment of the DePaul Hospital decided that interest rates were rising and that their construction costs made the deal untenable. If something similar happened in the redevelopment of Maury, would this delay construction of the new building? And if not, how long could we expect the abandoned building to be left on the Maury High School property? We look forward to learning the answers to these questions and the plans to address these concerns in the coming year. Thank you again for choosing our Maury students with your vote last week, and I thank you for your time.
Next, we have Afi Anwar.
My name is Afi Anwar. I have a son that goes to Maury High School. I work at ODU. I'm also the Maury boys volleyball coach. So I'm piggyback on the Maury High School building. In be more specific, I'm talking about the condition of the gym. If you have heard about it, we have water coming down from the roof. Okay? And if you have heard about it, that's when it's the worst condition. Okay? So as a result, in its worst condition, you would basically have puddles of water on the floor, and safety reasons, so we can't hold practice. PE classes can't be in the gym. They basically ended up in their classroom checking their phones instead of doing their PE. And again, if you have heard about it, that's the worst condition. There's water dripping every day, every time. Okay, it's not like a switch on and off. I have water coming down, switch it off, it's gone. It's not. Okay, it's continuous. Volleyball season in this past fall. Right now, basketball season, they have the same issue. Somebody has a comment from the basketball coach. What they do is basically, and what we do is basically just grab a towel and just put towels all around the court, or cones, safety cones, and just make sure they don't go over there, okay? And when I say they, it's the players. But we need a resolution. We can't keep continuing playing in this condition. It's unsafe for the players. I go into the gym, the first thing I do is walk around, make sure there's no water on the court. Any help, any kind of help is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Calvin Williams.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Calvin Williams. No, I don't have a child in public schools right now. I have a child graduated from public schools. I'm here, I'm the executive director of My 2K Foundation. I don't know if some of y'all have met me before. We run the Safe Passage program inside the St. Paul's area. I'm reaching out here to introduce myself because I've been calling and I haven't been getting through. I hear parents talking about bullying, and we have worked this Safe Passage program. It's going on 2 school years. On our watch, we watch at least 500 children. I know majority of them is Norfolk Public School children during a school day. While we monitoring, and I know y'all do know because Mr. Ron Phillips, Mr. Ron Phillips, principal driver, we have these conversations, and they noticed the change in the community since we've been involved in the community. Even the y'all crosswalking problem with PB Young Elementary, which we all aware of, the child got ran over. We've been adamantly trying to get in contact with y'all. We not trying to badger the school system. We just want to know how can we work together. We've been involved with walking the children from the bus stops ever since they were shooting at the bus stops, and we have eliminated that problem. I know y'all have never heard since then in the St. Paul's area, children, bus stops getting shot at, been dealing with a lot of bully problems inside y'all community, even the problem y'all have with Ruffner, with the middle school children, with the elementary school children. We've been working effortlessly to try to combat that problem, and we're just asking, is there any way possible we can work together? I know the citizens not enough heard of My 2K Foundation. We deal with the community. We deal with community violence intervention, prevention. We monitor the current situations going on in the community so we can actually get in front of it before it happens. So we do a lot of prevention work. And being able to do that, we're allowed to actually make sure our children are safe inside the community. Go through St. Paul's area, Calvert Square, Young's Terrace. Last year,
Thank you.
Next, we have Julie Malcolm.
Good evening.
Hi. My name's Julie Malcolm. I'm a Maury parent. I have 3 children, one that graduated from Maury 2 years ago and one that's a current senior, and I have an 8th grade student. I just wanted to thank you guys for your vote last week on behalf of Maury students, and also just wanted to ask you to help the building in the next 6 years. There are some things that can't be helped, but there are some things that are just broken, and they can be helped, and they can't stay that way for the next 6 years. The sound system in the auditorium, the lights in the auditorium, the sound system in the gym do not work, and people who come for special events and for concerts, they cannot hear anything and you cannot see anything. So I'm just asking if you could put some money aside in the next budget to address those issues, because 6 years is a very long time to go. My son played basketball at Maury, and Coach Plummer, who's the varsity basketball coach currently, he wanted to come tonight, but they're playing Norview High School right now. So he asked me to read the statement on his behalf. So this is from Coach Brandon Plummer. Dear school board officials, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to express my concerns about the current conditions in the gymnasium at Maury High School. Since my tenure as the head basketball coach, there have been many problems that are continuously getting worse, affecting my overall experience and the safety of the student athletes in the facility. Of most concern, the water leakage from the roof has been an ongoing issue, causing my team to have to cancel or find another facility to conduct practices. I know if this continues to be an issue, a rainy day during a season play will cause our home games to be postponed, affecting our season tremendously. I find myself many days having to run practices around bathroom towels to keep the floor dry and multiple trash cans to consume the water dropping from the ceiling. Additionally, there seems to be a lack of proper equipment being used to adequately stop this problem. Furthermore, the electricity around the gymnasium at times does not work and needs to be improved. We have training equipment that we try to utilize regularly, but due to the damage to electrical sockets and wires from the water, we are not able to, hindering our student athletes from quality training. In season, we are not able to use our PA system, which takes away from the experience from our student athletes and entertainment from our supporters. These issues cannot wait for 6 years. I believe that addressing these issues is critical to the safety of our students and to maintain a positive, safe environment. Thank you for your attention to these matters and hope we can come together to see improvements. Sincerely, Coach Brandon Plummer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lori Brown, and I'm a paraprofessional at Lake Tiller High School, and I have been an employee for Lake Tiller with Norfolk Public Schools for over 23 years, and I am a proud member of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers. As a member and a dedicated employee, I would like to express the following items as the priorities of hardworking staff in the next year's budget. And also, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Birdsong. How are you doing today? I'm sorry. NPS must prioritize a meaningful and competitive raise for teachers and staff. While NPS starting pay has caught up to surrounding districts, the size and influence of NPS raises often means employees fall behind other districts as their years of experience increase. We must stop this trend and work to reverse to attract and retain highly qualified staff. NPS must prioritize addressing the substitute shortage plaguing our schools. Staffs are increasingly asked to cover classes on their planning period, and I am one of them. We also add to split class students to their classroom or lose a teacher assistant coverage. This adds additional stress and burns out our staff, and I am a witness to that also. If NPS chooses not to develop a plan for greater assists, then contracted staff who are made to cover or split should receive an increased supplement payment, which fairly represents the value of that added work. NPS must maintain their commitment to complete their step compression plan and payback the final remaining missing steps to NPS veterans. These staff members have waited a long time, and we risk losing their invaluable experience if NPS does not uphold their promise. NPS should pursue a pilot program of the community schools model by funding 3 community school coordinator positions for schools in a single feeder pattern. We must plan a financial emphasis on addressing the academic and social struggles of our students and engage parents, staff, and community partners in the process. These coordinators will allow NPS to sustain constant, coherent relationship with community and nonprofit businesses. Please consider your priorities seriously. You know the school district better than anyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And Dr. Martin, this concludes our speakers who have signed up prior to 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Up next, we have approval of our consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
He's quick.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Clanton.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Buffalo.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo? Aye. Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
And Martin.
Aye. Okay, the consent agenda passes. Up next, we have our monthly financial report, and Ms. Spivey is going to present it to us.
Good evening, Chair Martin, Vice Chair Buffalo, our other members of the school board, and Dr. Birdsong. This evening, I'll review the monthly financial statements, and I'm going to concentrate my comments on the page that shows the schedule of revenues and expenditures. And do I? This.
Keep going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like a financial statement.
Right here?
One more.
One
I
more.
think.
Okay.
Yes, there.
Okay.
So, so this page has the revenues and expenditures all on the same page, which I thought could be more concise to discuss it. As we always say, we mentioned this picture captures the months that have passed so far in this calendar year, in the fiscal year. So it is the first 5 months of the fiscal year that runs July through November. This report reflects transactions that took place on or before December 6th. For revenue collections for the first 5 months, collections were $146 million, and that represents 36.6% of the budget. Collections during the same period over the prior 2 years have ranged between 32.4% and 35.9%. If we go down further down that, yes, that statement, that same statement, yes, for expenditures, we spent or encumbered $142.3 million, or 35.7% of the budget. During the same period in the previous year, that ranged from 32.4% to 33.9% of the budget. Looking at the next to the bottom line shows the difference between our revenues and expenditures. So revenues exceeded expenditures by $15.4 million, and that is greater than October's differential of revenues versus expenditures. And all of the other pages within that presentation, the first several are about the general fund, and then there's additional information up through the rest of the presentation. And Chairman Martin, that concludes my comments on the November financial statements, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone else may have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Dr. Martin, go ahead, Ms. Basine.
Get to my questions here. Thank you, Ms. Spivey, for the overview and presentation this evening. So, as I've been asking, I imagine, and I'm sure if you had it, you probably would share this. But I just wanted to check in and see if we have any updates on the funding formula, any funding formula updates from the city.
I do. I don't have the updates on the actual formula, but I do have an estimate.
Okay, that's
okay.
What I'm looking for.
So so we received an estimate twice during the year, and then a final as it gets closer to budget adoption time. And the first estimate is that the local contribution that is that supports operations would be $157.52 million. And that is an increase of 4.3%, which is a dollar increase of $6.5 million. There's also an increase in the local contribution that supports the construction technology and infrastructure. That amount right now is estimated at $5 million, which is an increase of $164,000, which is 3.4% increase.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. And do you also have the total where we are right now, and perhaps on that same page 5, you might be able to help me understand. To date, the amount of unspent funds is.
So it's hard to. I mean, I can show you what the statement says, but the spending is not necessarily the same every month. Right. But right now, the best way to look at that to me is our revenues over expenditures, and that is that $15.4 million figure.
Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to double check that I was understanding that correctly. And finally, and I think the next quarterly update regarding the federal funds will be in January, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
But given that we're having, I know we're going to have a little bit of a budget presentation later, and going to be entering into more detailed budget discussions when we return in 2024. So I just wanted to get an understanding of where we are, and if you don't have this information right now, I understand. I just want to put this question out there. But we had, recalling from the October monthly financial report, the quarterly update, I believe there was, in our ESSER funds, we had about 43 million, and I'm approximating, about 43 million left that had not been spent. And I know some of that is we have until September 2024 to spend that. And most of it is in the ESSER 3 funds, I believe. Where are we in terms of spending what we do have left? And has there been any requests from the state or the city to have any of that money come back? Or can you share a little more about
I'll
that?
answer your first question, your last question first.
Okay.
No, we've not had any communication from the state that they would be expecting us to pay money back that we haven't, until the deadline passes.
Right, okay.
So, we do have until September 30th
Right.
to spend those funds. And we are continuing to spend them. And I will have a more detailed report in January.
January, okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
just thank you for the report. Just a follow-up clarification. The 15.4 million that you referenced, at least I wrote it down as the carry forward. That's the excess that we have in this fiscal year, or is that the excess that we have in this fiscal year plus what we carry forwarded from last year?
Right now, it's the amount just for the current year that expenditures have exceeded revenues. But again, that may not stay constant throughout the year because our spending is not the same. But I will say we have finalized our financial statements. The audit's not yet complete, but very close, and the reversion has increased, was actually more than we thought at $30 million.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
I think that was what the other part of your question.
Right. So the 30 million is the reversion from last year, and as of this year, at the current point in time, we're at 15.4 million.
Correct.
Subject to
but that is,
what they do.
because if we are able to fill some of the, do some things that we are intending to do, that difference could decline.
So specific to the report, you have in your footnote, you noted that our instruction services are up $10 million. Can you share with us what's driving that?
And I can get you more detail
Just
on that. I mean, instruction services is the largest part of our budget.
Right.
So I don't know specifically. No, I don't specifically have it with me today. How much of that is salaries versus non-salaries?
Okay, but it's not like the tutoring or other things that we're doing. It would be something else.
I really would prefer to.
Right. It just caught my attention because just wondering what was driving it, and so next month is fine, or if you know later, if you can send it to us, appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
You have a question? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted clarity. I know that we took a vote on the reversion funds, and that original amount was, I guess, what, 20 some odd million?
So this fiscal year.
This is from the previous. So it's the 30 million that we're talking about that was just mentioned. Is that currently what we're building up to? My question is simply this: do we need to take an additional action because apparently this isn't the same number that we voted on?
Okay, no. The answer. So reversion for fiscal year 23, which is what the audit, the number I just spoke of, those funds, because that actually we get the audit in fiscal year 24, are used for fiscal '25. So the most recent vote you would have taken on reversion was the amounts that were left over from fiscal '22 that apply to, fiscal, am I right, '24.
But this just goes back to my continuing pressing, and I think that we all share that in the respect of the need to have a discussion about right-sizing Norfolk Public Schools so that we can answer that call, so that we can increase salaries and other things that we need to do. Because if we're having that amount of money left over, we need to do a better job of placing and planning based on what we have right now. So 2024, we need to have that meeting.
Yes.
And what,
Go ahead,
can I
sorry.
say that, to say what Mr. Clanton, and that's why I think that we really need, going into this budget year, really have some crucial conversations about our budget. So we can have dialogue around those questions and reversion funds and right sizing and all of that, so we can get on the path of responsible budgeting as a board.
Anyone else? Ms. Basine, did you have something to say?
No, I'm sorry, I was just in agreement with my colleagues here. So.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Spivey.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the monthly financial report subject to audit.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Jordan. And then Ms. Basine seconded.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo? Aye. Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
And Martin?
Aye. I didn't hear my name. Okay, so the financial report subject to audit has passed. Up next, we have our NPS academic calendar for school years 25 and 26.
Waiting for it to load
Good
up.
afternoon, or evening. There's no presentation tonight, just you guys had moved it to action versus consent, so I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Poole? Okay. Can I get a motion to,
Well, Dr. Martin, did you want us to vote in means of option 1, option 2?
we could do that, or I was going to say if we voted for one of the options, that means that the other one didn't. I mean, either way.
Yeah, I was going to make a motion in support of option 2, but I do think it might be of some value. Just I don't think we need to go through the whole presentation, but just enough to explain
Highlights.
the highlight
The difference, yeah.
of option 1 and option 2.
Sure, and as Ms. Tanner pulls up the presentation, let me just go to that specific slide, or those slides.
There we go.
Of course, if anyone wants the full discussion, you can watch the video of our work session from last week.
Please do so, yes.
I did. It's slow.
So the highlights of the two options, option 1 and both options start 2 weeks prior to Labor Day. Option 1, however, ended after the first week of June, so it ends similar to what we do this year. Had 190 teacher work days, 176 full student days, 4 early release days, and it increased our instructional time up to 1,057 hours. It adds a full parent-teacher conference day instead of the half day we had this year. There are 3 teacher PD work days, 3-day Thanksgiving break, and a 2-week winter break in there as well. The highlights for option 2 still starts 2 weeks prior. However, this one ends the last week of May, so it does end a week earlier. So it shifts the whole year left, basically 1 week. This has 189 teacher work days, which includes 2 flex days, where teachers are flexible on when they work that schedule. There are 172 full student days, 5 early release days, 1,037 hours instruction. This one has 4 work days and had 2-day Thanksgiving break. However, going to the end, for option 2, there were some amendments made after the input from the survey. And this created 172 full student days and 4 early release student days, decreased the hours to 1,033 because we did put back the 3-day Thanksgiving break. Moved the March PD date a little earlier and moved the August PD day that was requested as well by teachers from that Friday into the in-service week. based on the feedback. So these option one and option two, the option one, really the only change that was made was moving the August PD day. The rest of the calendar stayed the same. So option two had the most changes to it, so those would be the two options the board would be voting on tonight.
With that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the board adopt option two.
Second.
And I second that motion.
Mr. Clanton seconded, because he's quick on the draw. All right, go ahead, Ms. Danner.
Okay. No, you're done with discussion? Okay.
Yes.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Stone?
I just want to make one comment before I vote. I'll also be voting for option two. It overwhelmingly surveyed best amongst teachers and students, and those are the ones that are going to be affected by it the most. But I do want to acknowledge that I think the one thing this is missing that teachers are going to be emailing us about eventually is that missing March break. That's a big break between February and April, and so if there's any feedback as we move into, obviously this sets us in place for 2 years, I hope it serves well, but any feedback we get from teachers, I definitely want to hear, and from students too, and then, but I think this serves very well. I agree with the board, but I do want to hear from that and see how that affects the teachers down the line. But with that, I say aye.
And Martin?
Aye. All right, so calendar number 2, as amended, has passed for the next 2 years, school years. So thank you, everyone. And thank you to the committee who put a lot of hard work into this, and to all of the community members, staff, everyone who participated in the surveys. We really appreciate that feedback.
Dr. Martin?
Yes?
Before you close that portion out, just something that Ms. Stone mentioned brought something back to me. I know that as part of our school board rep policy that we do allow for our school board rep to weigh in, and so I just wanted to mention, you know, as we were just talking about the calendar, if there are other items that you'd like to weigh in on to represent student voice, you're more than welcome to do so. So I just wanted to remind us of that, because I'm not sure that we are often pausing enough to allow for that student voice piece as well. Thank you.
So for my feedback, if you want my opinion, I do agree with Ms. Stone that I think daily breaks each month are truly appreciated by the teachers and students, and that amending March to have a break would be very appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Satter. We appreciate your input, and we'll look into doing that. Okay? Thank you. Anyone else? Good? Okay. So up next, we have our public hearing on the fiscal year, school year 24-25 school board operating budget. Hi, Ms. Spivey again. How are you? Good. All right,
Good
whenever
evening
you're ready.
again. We're here this evening to hear and receive input from from members of our community on the school division's operating and capital budgets. Dr. Birdsong has asked that I provide a brief introductory context to the division's budget. One of the primary challenges, and I'll start out by talking about the challenges we've had over the past years and in putting together a budget. And the first one highlighting is, our K-12 enrollment trends are down. And so this, has a major effect on our budget. We have 5,400 less students than we had 12 years ago, and enrollment continues to decline. The impacts of the state revenues, since state payments are based on student membership, are expected. And so 59% of our budget comes from the Commonwealth. And thinking through, as we begin the process of preparing the fiscal '25 budget, just mention what the strategies and priorities we had for the fiscal '24 budget. Division priorities were employee compensation, retention, and recruitment, school safety and security, building repairs and maintenance, technology supports, and additional resources for our schools. The strategies for this current year have been improving employee pay and enhancing recruitment bonuses, continuing support of student health and social emotional well-being, maintaining supplemental resources to address the impacts of the pandemic on our students that continue to be felt, adding security personnel and installing weapons detection at our schools, ensuring technology is available for everyone, and addressing the deferred maintenance of our aging schools. Taking a look at the fiscal '24 general fund budget, 73% of our expenditures are instruction. Where this is where the majority of our funds should be going. As we noted last year, with 73% being instruction, we do have more limited amounts to cover all of the other things: technology, facilities, operations and maintenance, transportation, administration, attendance, and health. So again, it's just in balancing a budget, those are some of the considerations we have to consider. Our expenditures, our employee pay and benefits are 85% of our budget, leaving, again, all the other costs to be funded with 15% of our budget. This shows where our staffing is. This is our budgeted staffing. So of the 4,119 full-time equivalents, and 3,132 of those are instruction, and the other categories are shown on this chart. So we are now beginning the budget, and we're starting it off with this budget public hearing that we're having today. We expect the governor to release his budget for the 24-26 biennial by the end of next week. We will bring you an update on that at the January 10th meeting, and the superintendent will present the proposed budget to the school board on February 7th, and then there will be another school board public hearing to receive citizen comment on March 6th. The dates after that, some of them are on the calendar. Others are to be determined as we get further through the budget process. That's the end of my comments.
Any questions for Ms. Spivey? Go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
Not for Ms. Spivey, but just maybe for us. So based upon the calendar, Song is preparing to bring us her proposed budget in February. I think we need to make sure as a board that, following tonight's public hearing and based upon the goals and non-negotiables that we've established, that there's some clarity around the board's expectations and priorities with the budget, and to see alignment between the goals and the non-negotiables and the budget. I know, at least I felt in the last couple of years, we've waited, and then we've had a 30-day window, and we didn't really have the opportunity to make sure that there is communication from the board to the administrations of the board's expectations for the proposed budget. And so I know we're not going to do that tonight, but I think it's important that we do that soon as possible when we come back in January, and not leave that open for interpretation. Then we find ourselves a week out before it's due to the council having that discussion. And I think that should also include what Mr. Clanton and Ms. Buffalo, Ms. Bassine was mentioning earlier about carry forward funds and the additional funds that it seems we're going to be receiving as a result of the revenue sharing. So I know in the carry forward, we have sent a lot of money into buildings, and the other piece we have to be mindful of is, as Ms. Bassine was raising earlier about pandemic funds and other funds going away, and having a good handle on what does that mean in terms of service delivery. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier during our work session. So making sure that those type of things are of priority and focus, I think, is important for the board to be in agreement and communicate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So up next, we have the public hearing. Ms. Tanner?
Yes, for tonight, we have 21 speakers, but I'll call them in order just in case if someone has already left for the evening. Back up. You just have a transition for a moment. You ready? Okay. Our first speaker, Chairman Martin, is Argelia Flores. Okay. She's not here? Okay. Quandra Larkins.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Birdsong. My name is Quandra Larkins, and I am your GENT Special Education Paraprofessional. And I have been with NPS for at least 4 years. Just want to say I came in 2020, and I came at a very critical time. And as a union member and dedicated employee, I want to address the following concerns as the priorities of your dedicated staff in next year's budget. NPS must prioritize a meaningful and competitive raise for teachers. Each time I tell a teacher that I see in the grocery store, they always tell me how many years they have been with NPS or with any other school district. It's either 30 years or above. I feel as though they should definitely be placed on their right steps. Usually when teachers have just started, they say that they're placed on their right step, but then we have a veteran teacher that has been putting in these dedicated years, and there's no increase. So I think we should tell our teachers that thank you for your service and give them what they deserve. Also, another prioritization, we must also say that for coverage, I am one of those paraprofessionals that cover, but oftentimes it takes away from our students for special education to give them services. And then on top of that, we have our teachers that are overwhelmed with cases, with our case studies. So I think we should definitely be able to give them that break and come in and bring in more substitute teachers. Also, another model that you guys have heard many times before is the community schools model. It's by funding 3 community school coordinator positions for 3 schools in a single feeder pattern. We must place a financial emphasis on addressing the academic and social struggles of our students. After COVID, there has been an increase in meltdowns, mental health issues, and also increase in fights. But I think we should allow NPS to build sustainable, consistent, and coherent relationships and establish rapport. Another prioritization is NPS must fill existing security positions and consider expanding the number of officers. They must be trained properly and given a clear and respected role in the discipline and safety procedures of our school buildings. Security is being tested recently, so can we ensure our communities and teachers and staff that they are well represented and well protected? Please consider your employees' priorities seriously. We know this school district better than anyone, and thank you very much. The foundation of every state is the education of our youth and the protection of our educators. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Melissa Garman.
Good evening, Mel Garman, NPS teacher and Norfolk resident. Competitive wages and raise. A 6% average pay raise for teachers will not suffice. Wages in a competitive market are determined by demand and supply. Our nation has a shortage of teachers. You have a high demand. We started the year with 300 vacancies. You got to do better than 6%. Additionally, I asked the school board to reject any budget that does not include a financial incentive for teachers to stay. The last 2 years, there have been bonuses for everybody, but those who remain loyal, those who come back year after year. Retention bonus must be part of this new budget. Recruitment. You need to recruit teachers. No one's going to argue that. But I asked an inquiry to be made to ensure that the money that's being spent to send recruiters outside of our area is actually paying back in return of that investment. And if that inquiry doesn't show that we are getting what we're paying to send out and try to get, then I would ask you to look at reallocating that money, again, for additional bonuses, or how about we start recruiting? We are in an area full of military veterans and retirees like me. Why not talk to your veterans and your retirees who are teachers at NPS and utilize us as ambassadors to go to the transition seminars for people who are 18 months out from retirement, looking for a job, and let us help you recruit those. The Navy has the most talented people in any military, and we're right here at a hub. Utilize it. You have plenty of resources here. Stop spending money going out of state. The substitute shortage. Your staff wants to do the jobs we're hired to do. Using SPED teachers and paraprofessionals and others to fill teacher vacancies, it's not satisfactory. If a teacher is going to be required to perform duties outside the contract they signed the year prior, they should have the opportunity to renegotiate that contract or request an administrative transfer to a position where they can work in their field. If not, then there needs to be better compensation. We shouldn't be working as long-term subs and getting $25 a pay period or $75 a day to do jobs when we're doing twice the work because we have to do our SPED job and we have to substitute long-term. Step compression. Guys have made steps in regaining the trust of your employees, the faith of your employees by the steps that you have given. If you do not see that commitment through, you will lose all gains and probably fall back further than you were before that started. Community schools, our community is hurting. If we are not careful, this city will become a statistic and it will be the negative across this nation. So community schools can be a first step in preventing us from becoming the next Detroit or the next San Francisco. Thank you.
Lori Lee. Is Lori Lee here? Shantae Lambert. Yusan Beck.
I read this and I almost said good morning, but good evening, school board members and Superintendent Bersong. My name is Yusan Beck, and I'm a teacher at Berkeley Compostela. I've actually been teaching in Norfolk since 2012, and I've been at Berkeley Compostela since 2019. Now, I am a proud member of NFT. I'm one of the many, and I say this because it's not just me, I'm one of many dedicated, hardworking, and devoted staff. There's a lot of us. All of us are devoted. I could probably sit here and say that I love Norfolk, but I'm not the only person. There's a lot of us that love where we teach at, which is why we stay. It's not just it's not because of the pay. Okay. So with that being said, I would say this. I hope to share a number of priorities for the next year's budget. So one of the things I would ask is that we have meaningful, competitive rates for teachers, so that the size and frequency of NPS raises are meaningful to the employees and they don't fall behind the other districts. I can go on and explain this, but I'm not going to explain it because I'm sure you all understand what that means. There's a document signed by the school board that you can find on a PDF on Google, so you all understand what you sign into place. We all know what we get. I just want it to be meaningful for us and competitive. The substitute shortage plaguing the district, oh my gosh. And I'm humbly asking this, and I say this because if you ever read an if-then book, if you can do one of two things, either, not just the pre-K, but in some of the other things, either work on the class sizes or take care of the paychecks, fix one or the other, work on giving us the help that we need in the classrooms so that we can do this stuff, because there are shortages across the board and I don't even know how to quantify or explain that. It's constantly being talked about at every single school. I don't even know. I mentioned this back in October, a long time ago, about teacher retention being a problem and shortages. It's talked about in the teacher committees because I'm there at the teacher committee meetings. And I stay after school to talk about these things. One of the things is maintaining a commitment for step compression, which is another thing that's talked about. Community school models, parents and people, or all these other people are wanting to help. Recruitment. The Navy's not the only place. There's Army bases, there's Air Force. I'm an Air Force veteran. In your PDF document, it talks about who you have as veteran teachers when you hire them on the contracts. So you know who your veterans are, you know who all your other people are, you know who is connected to different business communities and stuff. So you actually know which teachers you could sit there and ask to help with these things.
Thank you, sir.
Kelly Miller.
Good evening.
My name is Kelly Miller. I am a parent, I am an employee, and I am an NFT member. And I just wanted to express some concerns and focuses for your priorities. As everybody else has said, pay is so important. We sit here and continually see the incentives being given to come to NPS, but there's no incentive for them to stay. They get the bonus, they come, they leave. We need to focus on making sure that people stay and prioritizing the people who have been here as opposed to just recruiting. Recruiting is important, but it doesn't matter if they don't stay. Substitutes are always a problem, and we need to be compensated fairly. If we're forced to cover or split classes, it's difficult. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
LaQuetta Mackey.
Good evening.
Board members and Dr. Birdsong. As you know, my name is LaQuetta Mackey, and I'm the president of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers, the union for all non-administrative NPS staff. I served as a third grade teacher and math specialist for 29 years with only Norfolk Public Schools. I humbly and proudly lead the union of NPS coworkers in all their attempts for a better workplace. NPS employees work incredibly hard every day, and they face difficult challenges in their schools daily. You must consider your staff's perspective in your budgetary decisions. We are in the buildings every day. We not only see the problems up close, but we must deal with their effects daily. The choices made in the budget affect us first and foremost. Our voice must be heard, valued, and taken into serious and meaningful consideration. As the president of NFT, a union member, a dedicated and hardworking employee of 29 years with NPS, I would like to express on behalf of the NFT members and NPS employees the following items as our budgetary priorities. NPS must prioritize a meaningful and competitive raise for teachers and staff. If you treat us well and pay us competitively, then we can fill the vacancies in school that are most needed. NPS must maintain their commitment to complete their step compression plan and pay back the final remaining missing steps to NPS veterans. This has been a long time coming. And if you don't uphold this promise, then you're going to miss out on very dedicated employees to stay with Norfolk Public Schools. Another priority is NPS should pursue a pilot program of the community schools model by funding at least 3 community school coordinator positions for the 3 schools in a single feeder pattern. We must place a financial emphasis on addressing the academic and social struggles of our students and engage parents, staff, and community partners in the process. These coordinators will allow Norfolk Public Schools to build sustainable, consistent, and coherent relationships with community nonprofits and businesses and access to their funding and volunteers. NPS must fill existing security positions and consider expanding the number of officers. They must be trained properly and given a clear and respected role in the discipline and safety procedures of our school buildings. The priorities you have heard tonight from myself as well as NFT members are based on a survey of union members and the countless calls, emails, and conversations we have with NPS employees. Please remember that when you form your budget. Please consider your employees' priorities seriously. We know this school better than anyone else. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to fellowshipping with you tomorrow at our holiday party at Booker T. Washington High School. If you have not responded, please do so.
Thank you.
Abigail Atchison. Please correct me if I said that wrong.
Evening.
Abigail Atchison. I am a middle school teacher with Norfolk Public Schools, and I am here to urge the school board to adopt the sustainable community school model as a pilot program. As a teacher, I have daily conversations with parents asking for ways that they can become more more involved in their child's education. In most of these conversations, I have little to offer these parents who are often frustrated with the opacity and inaccessibility of their child's daily learning. The Sustainable Community Schools model would allow parents significantly more input in their child's schooling, and the SCS model would also allow parents to make use of the school as a tool to meet their own needs, whether adult education supports or parent input on what informational or physical resources are most needed to support their families. SCS would allow NPS to more directly lift up and meet the needs of students and their families. Norfolk Public Schools has the chance to become a fulfilling and vibrant cornerstone of life in this city, even more so. The SCS model pilot program is a vital step towards making this a reality. The Sustainable Community Schools model would also lead to improved classroom behaviors and better student learning. The biggest challenge to supporting student learning and behaviors is a lack of communication between parents, guardians, and teachers, and the SCS model would address that problem at its root. When parents are in the classroom, actively involved in management of the school, or even using the school as a center for their own learning, students may no longer feel that they can act out without mom or dad knowing. For these reasons, I ask the board to include in the budget funding for 3 community school coordinator positions. This is a really great opportunity to learn what we might do to more directly reach all of those students who lost a lot of learning and have had a lot of changes due to COVID. And I think this is a great model moving forward to make sure that we can meet them where they're at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Brown. One was Lori Lee. Lori Brown. You were signed up in 2 places, so, okay, that's okay. Now we'll need our interpreter for this one. Thank you for joining us. If you can introduce yourself.
This is Alejandro, and I will be your Spanish interpreter, 354. I will interpret everything you say and keep it confidential. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Linda Perez.
Linda Perez.
Yes.
Buenas. Me presento una vez más para pedirle estamos pidiendo que el superintendente se comprometa a financiar 3 puestos de coordinador de escuelas comunitarias en el próximo presupuesto de coordinadores. Es el primer paso a la creación de escuelas comunitarias en Norfolk. Solicitamos que una de las escuelas piloto esté ubicada en una escuela que sea central para la comunidad hispana. Traigamos coordinadores de escuelas comunitarias a las escuelas públicas de Norfolk. Únase a nosotros. Únase a nuestra lucha para traer coordinadores de escuelas comunitarias a nuestras escuelas públicas. Estos coordinadores entrevistarían a familias de estudiantes para identificar las principales barreras de la comunidad. Luego trabajarán para brindar servicios en el lugar para abordar estas necesidades dentro del edificio escolar, marcando el primer paso hacia el establecimiento de centros de aprendizaje comunitario in Norfolk.
Okay. Go ahead, interpreter.
So what we are asking the superintendent to do is to finance 3 coordinator positions so that we may be able to get the help that we need. That would be the first step. What we need is for somebody to come to these centers and help the Hispanic community here in Norfolk. So basically what we need is the coordinators to meet with the students to find all the barriers that prevent them from doing what they have to do. That would be the first step in the community that we must take to help the community meet those needs which they are needing so we can help our students within the school.
Gracias, es un placer estar enfrente de todos ustedes, personas importantes.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure Standing here in front of you.
And Linda Perez, did you want to come forward?
Señora Pérez, ¿quiere pasar aquí enfrente?
De nuevo, esto es
Again?
para, esto es para complementar. Estos recursos serían de una gran ayuda porque nos ayudarían a estar más cerca de ustedes, que son los que viven acá. Nosotros somos, vamos a hacer un complemento en donde nuestros hijos en un futuro agradecerán, y no solamente ellos hacia ustedes, sino ustedes hacia ellos que están formándose, porque de alguna u otra forma influirán en otro lenguaje. Sería muy bonito en donde en un futuro la mayoría de niños no solamente hablen inglés, sino hablen español. Esto ayudaría de forma muy grande, ya que podríamos relacionarnos en cualquier sentido, y no solamente en el colegio, sino en una vida laboral y familiar en un futuro.
Yes, so what we need is somebody to complement the resources that we already have. I think this would be great. It would be a great way for you guys to get closer to us, to our people, to the people that live here. So we need somebody to complement what's already out there. It's something that not only will we appreciate, but our kids will appreciate later in life and right now that they're developing. So it's gonna be beautiful that they're gonna learn in a different language, but it's also gonna be very beautiful to see not only our youth speak English, but also Spanish. It will not only help us relate to each other in school, but it will also help us relate at work and also as a family.
Muchas gracias a todos ustedes por tenernos presente, por apoyarnos y por tenernos en cuenta para aportar cambios pequeños que en un futuro se van a reflejar. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for having us here. Thank you for all of your attention. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all your help. This is going to be a great help that we will be able to see blossom later in the future.
Is Sasha Simmons here?
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sasha Simmons, and I am a parent of a first grader and a ninth grader that attends Norfolk Public Schools. I am speaking tonight in support of a community schools protocol to assist in the academic improvement of the underserved and underperforming schools in the Norfolk area, particularly J. Cox Elementary School, which is the school my first grader attends. According to J. Cox School Report Card, J. Cox is performing below average compared to other elementary schools in Norfolk and severely below average compared to other elementary schools in the state. I am very concerned for my son's future and his success academically. I believe that all students should have a quality education that will prepare them for success and ensure that they excel, not only academically, but also socially and economically. I believe that implementing a community schools model will significantly improve the academic performance of Jaycox Elementary School and the surrounding community. For example, and I quote, this is an example of a protocol that was implemented in 1991 at Bowling Park Elementary School, that's now Richard Bowling. It was struggling, and under the leadership of Principal Dr. Herman Clark Jr., educators there decided to try a new model based on building greater relationships with parents and connecting students to community support beyond the classroom. The results were remarkable. By 1995, Bowling Park was recognized in the Red Book as one of the top 50 schools in the entire country. In 1996, fourth graders at Bowling Park earned such a high standardized test score that the city made them retake the test, and the second test showed the same results. Based on this evidence, community schools is the way to go if we want to improve the conditions of underachieving schools in the area. According to the Community Schools Playbook, the model will make academic success possible and create strong ties among families, students, schools, and communities. Also, doing so will provide more equitable opportunities and prepare students for success in life and as citizens. So I'm asking the board and the superintendent to please consider working into the budget a qualified community schools coordinator to implement positive change and academic success for J. Cox Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Jazz Garcia here? Nathan Whitlow.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Martin, Vice Chair Ms. Buffalo, school board members, and Dr. Birdsong. I am Dr. Nathan Whitlow, Chair of your Special Education Advisory Committee. At the direction of the committee, I present this letter as our 2023-24 interim report to the school board. At the start of the fiscal year 25 budget planning process, we respectfully revisit previous recommendations as well as propose new strategies for your consideration. We appreciate the opportunity to share our monthly deliberations with the school division's governance team. We firmly believe that collaborative communication deepens our understanding of the needs of students with disabilities and the special and general educators who work with them on a daily basis. Accordingly, we commend Dr. Glenda Walter, the Learning Support Special Education staff, and all MPS staff who contribute to the education, well-being, and growth of our students with disabilities. Through our ongoing dialogue with them and our Norfolk community members, we understand that there is a robust concern over the inner workings and management of processes that affect students with disabilities. It is our hope that this letter provides additional insight to the governance team while preparing for upcoming conversations that will determine the fiscal year 25 operating budget. First and foremost, teacher and staffing shortages continue to be a significant and immediate concern. Parents, staff, and community members worry about the effectiveness of current strategies to sufficiently address the increasing number of vacancies faced each year. Specifically, members continue to raise concerns about planning and allocation of adequate funding to recruit and retain educators at a rate greater than its current levels of attrition. We strongly recommend the following for consideration in budget planning as tools for recruitment and retention. First, improve compensation for staff who serve students with disabilities to include educators, support staff, classified personnel. This would include salary stipends to recognize the specialized nature of their work, which often includes accountability under law, access to additional tuition assistance reimbursement for examination, licensing, and other requirements. Second, dedicated funding allocations aimed specifically toward faculty development in the oversight, mentorship, coaching, and advisement of teachers and staff who directly serve students with disabilities. Targeting new hires, including all long-term subs, teachers and classified personnel, instructional support assistants, and bus drivers, monitors, cafeteria staff, and others. It is our intent that all staff members with the responsibility to enforce individualized education plans for students to be included in this initiative, as well as those whose daily responsibilities include the care and supervision of students with disabilities. Third, investment in staff assessment programs that focus our efforts on identifying the work climate and professional needs of MPS staff. We acknowledge the significant challenges schools face daily. We hope that our efforts to share concerns and make viable recommendations demonstrate our desire to work collaboratively in efforts as an advisory committee. Closing, we'd like to highlight a key recommendation from the Council of Great City Schools from the summer 2021 Special Education Data Review. It is not possible for special education administrators and personnel to unilaterally improve achievement and social emotional outcomes without a coordinated and comprehensive effort that involves the collective and intentional work of all educators and support staff of the district and schools.
Thank you.
We have Ashley Angelo. Sure left, okay. Calvin Williams signed up again? Okay.
Good afternoon again. My name is Calvin Williams.
My 2K Foundation. Guests here from Chicago with the Big Homies Club we've been working with. I hear everybody speak about, the teachers speak about the pay. The pandemic showed that we do need the teachers to get paid. But what we have everybody speaking about the safety of the children, and I heard the finance lady speak on how we losing children because the parents don't feel they safe. My 2K Foundation, like I spoke before, in the community, we're doing the Safe Passage Program, and it was October 2022, and Channel 13 News and Wallet Hub showed that Norfolk was on record as the 8th most violent city inside the country. 23504 and 23510 is Young's Terrace. Calvert Square is one of the most violent neighborhoods in this city, which is make them one of the most violent neighborhoods in the country. I asked that the school board look to find some way to actually deal with My 2K Foundation and other grassroots organizations with safe passage to put funding in their budget to deal with children rights to come to school safe and make sure they come home safe, because you can't teach a child if you never make it to school or make it home from school. We have done with a lot of breaking up of fights, even had a situation where a child, Ruffner, middle school, 9-year-old elementary school child had a knife because he felt threatened. That's the only way he can defend himself against the bigger children from the middle school that he go to now. And we disarmed it, and we disrupt that situation. These situations which, if it happened, everybody here would be outraged, just like the incident happened in Maury. I ask y'all and I plead with y'all to work with us and work with us in the community, as such as with the community schools, because the community want to help y'all, and we reaching out to help y'all, and we begging y'all to help y'all because we want our children safe. I mentioned the guy in Chicago. Everybody thinks Chicago got crazy violence, but we forget that we live in one of the most violent areas in the country, and we must combat that. I say once again, My 2K Foundation is willing to help y'all in any way possible. We have a pilot program we done ran for 2 school years now and charge y'all nothing. Y'all paid not 1 penny. And I ask y'all and I plead with y'all to work with us so we continue to work with this program and actually grow this program across the city so our children can feel safe when they come to school and they can learn better. Thank y'all. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Elise McMath, did you? There you go.
Good evening again. I'm just going to continue on my previous point, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the community school coordinator position. I was heavily involved in my union through the VEA when I was a teacher, and there are unions through the NEA and AFT across the country who have entire institutes dedicated to the community school model. So I invite anyone who's curious to look into it more, because there's school districts across the entire country that look very similar to Norfolk who have implemented this model and where it has been successful. That being said, part of the reason why the community school coordinator position is the first step into implementing this model is part of their first job in their description is to interview and survey 100% of families in any given school community. That is because not all communities are the same. Certain communities have different needs, and they identify the greatest socioeconomic barrier for that given community. Then the next part of the job comes having those partnerships with nonprofits, with local businesses, funding to house those resources in the actual building. And I worked at a school that had a communities in schools staff member, and I know that Norfolk Public Schools has partnerships with the Communities in Schools program. While the work is similar, it's not synonymous, and even when I had that staff member at our school, while she did do really important work, it's not the same. I mean, as we've heard tonight and as I've heard with folks across the community, there are lots of parents and community members who are seeking to engage with Norfolk Public Schools but have not heard a response or have been outright denied to be able to participate. And so part of adopting this model is saying to the community that you all are committed to meaningful engagement, and I think a lot of people at this point just don't really feel that way. So that's all I wanted to say, was just elaborate a little bit more on why that's the first step in the process. It doesn't necessarily stop there, but on top of committing to those positions to pilot the program, we would hope that there would be a commitment to sustainably implement the program so that we can have it long enough to see it come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker is Veronica Thomas.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hallelujah to everyone. I want to say that I am here to support the Sustainable Community School model. I'm representing the NAACP and Let's Make a Difference. That's churches, organizations in the Villa Heights area. And if you know what's going on, and I know you do, 04 is where we are. And so we support that. And I am here to say personally, I know about Bowling Park. I was a social worker in that organization, that program with Dr. Clark and Lorraine Flood. And we did a great work. I worked under Dr. Ward. Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. So it was successful. I don't know why we discontinued it, but it's no longer there. But we have an opportunity. Most people don't get a second opportunity. We have a second opportunity here to make a difference, hallelujah, in our community. And let me say, I'm not asking you to do something that we don't do ourselves. We are in 8 schools. Every month, we go in and celebrate our teachers. We give them, hallelujah, we give them nice little cupcakes, not cupcakes, real pound cakes. If you ever had one of Jean's pound cakes, Jen, Jen, you in 7 heaven. We give that, and then we listen to the teachers. The teachers say by 2 o'clock, we are tired. We need a lift up. So we give them an energy bar, hallelujah, and we give them an energy drink to make them, keep on going. And you'll be surprised with something that simple that will encourage them. And Dr. White, I know you don't want me to say this, but she came to us and told us that's what we need to do. We want to do some tutoring. She said, we don't need no tutoring. We need somebody, hallelujah, to help with our teachers. And guess where we were today? We were in Booker T, and we gave lunch to all the staff at Booker T today. And our goal is to do that in every school. Right now, we're in 7 schools, and we want to be in every school. But we want you to know we got your back, but you got to have ours. In the name, Lord Jesus. We put you there because we thought you loved us. We put you there because we thought you understood what we need. You heard what everybody said. Now it's time for action. Now, I love the fact, I didn't know that I had time to say it. I appreciate everybody saying we got too much money left over. What we going to do with it? So I'm going to see Tanya, Rodney, Tiffany, what you going to do with it? Michelle, Carlos, call your name. Nick, who are you? Oh, Deputy Secretary. Okay, we need you to do what we paid for you to do. In the name, Lord Jesus, hallelujah.
And I have a correction. Carl Poole is our last speaker for tonight.
All right, Carl. Man, that was a good finale.
Sure.
Can you top that?
No. Dr. Martin, members of the school board, Dr. Birdsong, good evening. My name is Carl Poole, and I live in Norfolk. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the following organizations: Concerned Citizens Association Incorporated, Freedom Virginia, Gear Recovery, the Norfolk Branch NAACP, Norfolk Federation of Teachers, Norfolk Gaines, New Virginia Majority, and its Tavares Foundation. We'd like to present a letter to you, making the case and the demand for Norfolk Public Schools to follow through on the recommendation of its October 2022 Equity Review and select 3 existing public schools to pilot the Sustainable Community School Model. We'd also like for you all to affirm a commitment to this strategy by including funds for 3 community school coordinator positions in the fiscal year 2025 budget recommendation to ensure that the district can begin employing this innovative approach to structuring a public school next year. Community school coordinators can serve a very unique and invaluable asset in a school. They work full-time at their assigned school to build partnerships with service agencies, with churches, community organizations, and local businesses to develop a network of resources based on the needs identified by student families in that school. We believe that this model represents a bold blueprint that is in alignment with the division's 5-year strategic goals and with the current fiscal priorities. One that fosters collaboration, addresses socioeconomic disparities within communities in the city, and redefines the role of public education within those communities themselves. This kind of approach is not new for Norfolk, as you've already heard. Bowling Park Elementary found success, the Comer-Ziegler Initiative, an earlier strategy that's also designed to integrate family supports and build engagement through collaborative leadership at the school level. We believe that kind of success can be achieved once again. When educators commit to following through alongside families and neighborhoods using the community school model, we believe that'll bring lasting success, not just at one elementary school, but at every public school. Norfolk doesn't have the luxury of time to ponder what better path our children have to seek for their best futures. We must help them clear the path now, no matter what we have to do, no matter what obstacles are in the way. We're not asking anything tonight of you that's easy, but we're not asking you to do it alone. To better improve families and uplift communities through our schools, we have to take that effort as one that we all do. Know that if you take this bold step tonight to move forward with education in Norfolk, that every community in Norfolk is taking that step with you. I appreciate the time you allowed me to speak tonight, and thank you for your service to the city.
That concludes our speakers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and participating in our public hearing and in our public comment. Please have a safe journey home or wherever you're going after this. And with that, I adjourn this meeting.